Castro Art fans, it's your boy Castro Art, and today I'm here with a very special guest. Most of you know who this guy is. If you're from my generation, you grew up listening to this guy like I did. He's a recording producer, songwriter, singer, and now a pastor and author. MONTELL Jordan.
Castro.
Dude, thank you for being on this segment.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm
Appreciate
glad
it.
I got to spend some time with you.
No, it's a true honor, man. True fan.
Come on, man.
Just want to ask you a few questions for those watching.
Yeah, sure.
What do you got going on? Any projects right now? Or?
Yeah, well, there's lots going on. I released an album
Okay.
called Masterpiece.
Okay.
It's the first album I've released in over 10 years. It's an R&B album that is basically the soundtrack to marriage ministry that my wife and I are doing now, Marriage Masterpiece. And love that we get to now travel the world and try and bring healing and understanding to couples, people who are in church and people who are not in church, just people that are married or have a desire to be married. The music becomes a soundtrack to what we're doing with that now full time.
And I actually got to witness that. I was in this seminar today, and it was a really powerful message. It hit here, and I can say it was a great message.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
amen.
that. Thank you.
And so let's talk art right now.
Yeah, man.
So aside from, I know you have an extensive background with creating music, but what about, let's talk about art in general, paintings, street murals, sculptures. What's your experience with that?
Well, first of all, I would say that not just with art, but particularly how art has played such an integral role into the development of hip hop throughout the years. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's just, graffiti is, one of the elements
Amen.
of hip hop. So the fact that so many artists have not only had the ability to have great influence on hip hop and artistry in that area, but so many of people have been so interchangeably able to not just do graffiti work and turn that into art, but art, they're kind of an interchangeable way of the gift of artistry that comes out in people has not only influenced us in music and things like that, but in ministry, all types of stuff. So I'm a huge fan of art. I'm into artwork when it comes to album covers. I'm into creating art, whether it be musical art or whether it's visual, whether it's through video, whether it's through paintings or sculptures.
Yeah.
All those things are extremely important to me. And I have a close friend who also does certain stuff with paintings. He does a thing.
Artist, or?
No, he's not graffiti. He's actually, he does this crazy thing where to music, he paints a picture upside down or something
I
like
think I've
that.
seen him. Yeah, I've
and
seen
then you don't know what it is or whatever. And then
Yeah.
it gets, his name is Picasso, like
Yeah.
Picasso,
And then he
but he
flips
does it and then he
yeah.
flips it
Yeah,
and he
I've
does a
seen it.
bunch of different things that he can do. But super, I think we're most like God when we're creating.
Amen.
Whether it's creating music or creating a speech or a poem or a rap or whatever that looks like. And so the fact that I'm very much into to the artistry that people are able to do with their hands, I think that, I think what's coming to me is that, a lot of people can create like God created by speaking and saying things into existence, but artistry with the hands, with the gift of the hands, is something that's a little more intricate. It's a little more, it's more hands-on.
Absolutely.
Because you're not just speaking to create something, but with your hands as you're painting or as you're drawing or as you're whatever you're doing there.
Yeah.
It's almost like, God created a lot of stuff by speaking it, but when he created men and women, he actually formed them and he shaped them, you know what I'm
Like
saying?
clay,
Like
yeah,
clay, he
absolutely,
molded.
yeah.
And so that's something that to me, artistry, especially when it comes to like painting and stuff like that. When you use your hands, it means a lot.
No, amen. And what about creating music? I mean, what's your process? What inspires you when you create music? I mean,
well, my musical creative process is very, very different. Sometimes I hear melodies first. I always hear melodies first.
okay.
And then once I hear a melody, then words will come to the melody.
Right.
So in other words, if somebody gave me a track and
Yeah.
said, I got this beat or whatever, the first thing that comes to me is I'll hear melody. And then after melody, then the words come. So even with like the hit records from back in the day,
Absolutely, yeah.
like This Is How We Do It, when we heard, boom, dun, 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 or I would hear dun, 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 dun,
So you can hear that sound.
I hear melody
Wow.
first, And so I said, da 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 da. I hear that melody, da 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 da, and then it becomes designated driver, take the keys to my truck. So it's like, I don't know your process of creating art, but I imagine for some people, you draw sketches or you draw things or the outline first, and then you start to fill in the blanks and the colors.
I actually see it.
You see it?
You hear it. I see it. So it's like, that's awesome.
Well, that's dope. That's dope. And so, but for me, like I said, I'll sketch out the melody first, and then I fill in the words, become the colors and everything to make that picture.
It's like your mind is a painting, and it's like you see that's awesome.
Yeah.
So really quick, what would you tell struggling artists, struggling vocal singers who want to make it in the world, in their talents? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Yeah, well, that's always a challenging question, and I always want to be encouraging, and at the same breath of wanting to give encouragement, I want to give reality. And reality is one thing I would say is you got to be good at what you do. You got to be good, because there's a lot of aspiring singers.
For sure.
But they're not good singers.
Right.
There's a lot of guys who aspire to rap so bad and they're not good. Right. There's a lot of dope artists that love what they do, but they're not. If you try and think, everybody, if they could get to the NBA, they would go. Anybody, if they could get to the NFL, they would go. And the thing is that separates, the Kobe Bryants, of the world was that he would get into the gym before someone else. And after everybody else was leaving, he was still there. And so I think when it comes to dancing, when it comes to arts, when it comes to painting, when it comes to songwriting, when it comes to singing, I think the work that you put in, it's got to be good, because if it's good, then it speaks for itself. And you don't have to, like I said, if you can't give it away, nobody's going to buy it. You want to make it good. You want to make it something that people want and feel like they have to have, that it feels a need. It feels a void, that your artistic voice actually means something. And so that's the first thing I would say, is that it's got to be good. And then secondly, the other thing I would say is you got to be persistent enough to get to the good.
Absolutely.
And what I mean by that is I wrote a lot of songs before This Is How We Do It.
Did you?
I was writing songs from the time I was 16 or 17 years old.
Wow.
I was pursuing a record deal at age 19. I didn't get signed to Def Jam Records until I was 25.
So you had some failed music that...
Lots of fail. I got songs nobody will never see the light of day.
Wow.
Records that I love, that I birthed from me, that I thought, oh, this is so dope, and you'll never hear them.
That's it.
And so from that standpoint, it didn't stop me. I was persistent to get to the good, to eventually get to the great. You got to go through a lot of paintings. You go through a lot of songs. You go through a lot of material to get to the stuff that's really good. But you have to be persistent enough to be able to get to that. Have you ever seen that picture? There's like I don't know if it's an art or cartoon thing, where there's a person, two guys are like kind of chipping away at in this mine. It's like one guy's chipping away at rocks into a mine, and another guy on the other side is chipping away with a kind of a pitchfork, not a pitchfork, a pickaxe, chipping away trying to find a diamond. And one guy, he hits it, and you strike it, and you see he gets a diamond.
Yeah.
And he takes that diamond. He's like, yeah. And the other guy has got his pickaxe, and he sees the guy gets the diamond or whatever, and he drops his pitchfork and he stops. But behind his wall, with one more hit, there's like 10 diamonds that are tucked behind the wall. And had he just kept hitting it one more time, he would have gotten 10 times what that person got. But I think comparison to other people's stuff is the enemy, of our creativity, man.
Amen. And one last question. My wife is a big fan. I wish she wanted me to ask you this. What is an epic moment in your artist as an artist in your career? The best moment in your life that you can think of? Epic.
Okay, so my life is a timeline of really cool musical moments, but probably one of the most vivid, epic moments was I was at a place called the Soul Cafe. It was back in, I want to say maybe 95, 96. It was, I guess it would have had to been 96. I was nominated for a Grammy for This Is How We Do It, and was at the Grammys in New York City, and afterwards There's a television show called New York Undercover was on TV.
I
Malik
just remember
Yoba, a
it.
bunch
Yeah,
of different places. And so the
absolutely,
Soul Cafe was owned by Malik Yoba and a bunch of other people. And so that night in New York City, Manhattan, all these artists had come into the place. I mean, you look around and I want to say Isaac Hayes was there. Just a lot of people were, still Isaac Hayes was there, and he had a song with, I don't know if it was, I can't even think of who it was at the time, but just Faith Evans and just stars were in the building. I'm sitting in there like, God, I'm not even supposed to be in here. And so the musicians that are there that night, they're up, Marcellus, Brandon Marcellus. I mean, just top of the top, dude. And I'm like, oh my God. So they call me up to the stage, like, yo, if you in here and you're in the Soul Cafe and you're an artist, you got to come up on stage because that's how we know who's real.
Absolutely.
So I go up on stage and I do a cover of Bobby Caldwell's "What You Won't Do for Love." Ba-da-ba-ba, I guess you wonder where I've been with this and kill it. The whole vibe, the night,
I wish I was there.
Oh man, it was an amazing night. And then as I'm done, as I'm completing that, I can see from the side of my eye, Stevie Wonder is coming to the stage. He's got a guy bringing him up to the stage. I'm thinking to myself, I got to get out of here because I'm not going to be here when Stevie Wonder gets up here. And Stevie Wonder's like, no, I want you to stay. I want you to stay. And Stevie Wonder comes up on the stage and sits on the keys next to me as I'm standing there. And he starts teaching the crowd a song from scratch, like creating art on the spot.
Like jazz, like something.
On the spot. And I'm there on the stage with Stevie Wonder in this surreal moment with people singing this melody. Oh man. And you could, when you were walking to the cars later on in the parking lot and down the alleys in the streets of New York, you could hear people singing the melodies from blocks over that Stevie had and I had worked on.
I see a painting right there. I could visualize that moment.
It was amazing, dude. It was amazing.
Well, Montell, I want to thank you for joining my show and thank you for talking, taking the time. This is the man.
You're the man. Hey, I appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
Hey, this guy, follow him, subscribe to what he does. He's got a heart for people. He's got a heart for artistry. And for people like you that are trying to figure it all out, don't give up. Keep pressing forward. Get good at what you do till you get great at what you do. And I appreciate what you do, man.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, bro.
God bless you.
God bless you back.
All right, peeps. Talk to you soon. Peace.